The Injunction. The High Court's Royal Courts of Justice loomed over the Strand like a Victorian cathedral to law itself, its grey stone facade imposing even in the weak Tuesday morning light. Alex stood on the pavement outside, watching barristers in wigs and gowns flow through the Gothic archways like a river of tradition and precedent. She'd been here 1,000 times, but never like this, never as the subject rather than the advocate. "Ready?" Marcus asked beside her, his hand warm on the small of her back. Alex adjusted the strap of her leather portfolio. Inside were 300 pages of evidence: surveillance equipment purchases, psychiatric records, James Hartley's sworn statement, Sophie's technical analysis of the malware, 48 hours of text message logs showing Rebecca's escalating obsession. Elizabeth Chen waited for them inside the entrance, impeccable in her tailored suit, gray streaking her dark hair. At 45, she'd built her reputation on complex civil litigation, harassment cases, restraining orders, privacy violations. She smiled when she saw them, though her eyes remained serious. "Alexandra, Mr. Ashford." She shook their hands. "Judge Winters has agreed to hear us at 10:30. That gives us 20 minutes to review." "Judge Winters?" Alex felt a flutter of hope. Sarah Winters, no relation to their junior barrister, was known for taking stalking cases seriously, particularly those involving technology. "Lucky draw," Elizabeth said. "She granted an emergency injunction last year in a similar case. Tech executive stalking a former colleague." They moved through security and up the stone stairs to the consultation rooms. The building smelled of old wood and floor polish, generations of legal battles absorbed into its walls. In the small conference room, Elizabeth spread the evidence across the table like a general planning a campaign. Rebecca's solicitor filed their response an hour ago. They're claiming this is a frivolous application designed to harass Miss Chen and prevent her from exercising her right to free expression. Marcus made a sound of disgust. "Free expression?" "They're arguing the photographs are newsworthy, that as a prominent surgeon, your private life is a matter of public interest." Elizabeth's tone was dry. "It's nonsense, but we need to address it." Alex scanned the response document, her barrister's mind automatically cataloging the weak points. They don't address the 18 months of surveillance, or the hacking, or the psychiatric hold. "Exactly." Elizabeth tapped the papers. "They're trying to reframe this as a freedom of speech issue when it's clearly about stalking and harassment. Judge Winters will see through it." "What about Hartley's statement?" Marcus asked. "That's our strongest evidence. It establishes a pattern. Rebecca did this before, to her ex-fiancé and his wife. 3 years of documented harassment culminating in a restraining order." Elizabeth looked at Alex. "The fact that she's doing it again to you and Marcus shows this isn't about public interest or free expression. It's obsession." Alex's phone buzzed. A text from Rebecca. "Enjoy your little performance, Alexandra. The judge will see you for what you are, a woman who seduced a man and now wants to silence his past." She showed it to Elizabeth, who immediately photographed it with her own phone. "Perfect timing. This demonstrates ongoing harassment even after you've initiated legal proceedings." Marcus read over Alex's shoulder, his jaw tight. "She's unraveling." "Good," Elizabeth said crisply. "Unraveling people make mistakes in court." At 10:20, they made their way to Courtroom 7. The room was smaller than the grand halls used for major trials, but no less imposing. Oak paneling, the royal coat of arms above the judge's bench, rows of wooden pews for observers. Rebecca sat on the opposite side with her solicitor, a thin man in his 50s named Gerald Pemberton. She wore a charcoal suit and minimal makeup, her hair pulled back severely. When Alex entered, Rebecca's eyes tracked her with laser focus. Alex met her gaze steadily. This was her territory, the courtroom, the law, the careful construction of argument and evidence. Rebecca might be brilliant with computers, but here, Alex had the advantage. Judge Sarah Winters entered at precisely 10:30. She was in her early 60s, gray-haired and sharp-eyed, with a reputation for suffering no fools. Everyone stood. "Be seated," Judge Winters said, settling into her chair. She opened the file before her, scanning the first page. "This is an application for an emergency injunction. Miss Chen, you're representing the applicant?" Elizabeth stood. "Yes, Your Honor." We're seeking an immediate injunction preventing the respondent, Miss Rebecca Chen, from contacting my clients, publishing any photographs or information about them, or coming within 100 meters of their residences or places of work. Mr. Pemberton? Judge Winters looked at Rebecca's solicitor. Pemberton rose, adjusting his glasses. Your Honor, this application is without merit. My client is a respected cybersecurity professional who has been subjected to a coordinated campaign of harassment by the applicants. The photographs in question are truthful documentation of Mr. Ashford's activities during a 2-year period, and my client has every right to. Mr. Pemberton, Judge Winters' voice was cool. I've read your response. Let's move to the evidence. Miss Chen, Elizabeth began methodically. The surveillance equipment purchases, £40,000 over 18 months. The hacking of Marcus's iCloud account, documented by Sophie's forensic analysis. The threatening texts escalating from veiled warnings to explicit blackmail. Then James Hartley's statement. Elizabeth read excerpts aloud. Miss Chen began contacting me within days of our separation, sending dozens of emails and text messages daily. When I blocked her, she created new accounts. She hacked my email and sent fabricated messages to my new partner's family, attempting to destroy our relationship. She followed my wife to work, to the gym, to her parents' home. After I obtained a restraining order, she continued surveillance from a distance, taking photographs and posting them anonymously online. This behavior continued for 3 years and has only recently decreased. Judge Winters looked at Rebecca. Miss Chen, did you engage in the behavior described in Mr. Hartley's statement? Rebecca stood slowly. Her voice was calm, controlled. I loved James. When he left me for a younger woman, someone he was supposed to be mentoring professionally, I was devastated. Yes, I contacted him repeatedly. I wanted to understand why. I wanted closure. Did you hack his email account? A pause. I accessed it, yes, but only to understand what he was saying about me. I needed to know if he was telling people lies. And the surveillance of his new wife? I never approached her. I never threatened her. I needed to see what she had that I didn't. Judge Winters made a note. Miss Chen, you're here representing yourself? Mr. Pemberton is my solicitor, but yes, I'm speaking on my own behalf. Very well. Let's address the current allegations. You met Mr. Ashford 3 years ago. Yes, at a conference in Edinburgh. We spent a weekend together. It was significant. For both of us, I thought. But Mr. Ashford didn't contact you afterward? Rebecca's composure cracked slightly. No, he didn't. I reached out several times, but he never responded. Marcus stood. Your Honor, may I? Judge Winters nodded. Mr. Ashford, I met Miss Chen at a professional conference. We spent time together. I thought we both understood it was casual, a conference weekend, nothing more. When she contacted me afterward, I didn't respond because I didn't want to lead her on. I thought silence was kinder than explicitly saying I wasn't interested in a relationship. You didn't consider explaining that directly? Marcus's expression was pained. In retrospect, I should have. But at the time, I was going through a difficult period after my divorce. I wasn't treating relationships seriously, or people. I'm not proud of it. And when did you reconnect with Ms. Morrison? 18 months ago. We'd met briefly at a legal conference 2 years before that, but we reconnected at my colleague's engagement party, Sophie Chen's engagement party. He glanced at Rebecca. Sophie is Rebecca's cousin. Judge Winters' eyebrows rose. So you observed Mr. Ashford and Miss Morrison together at a family event? Rebecca's voice was tight. Yes, they were close, very close. And I realized that while Marcus couldn't be bothered to return my calls, he'd been pursuing Alexandra for years. That's not true, Alex said, standing. Marcus and I barely knew each other before the engagement party. We'd met once, briefly, years before. But he remembered you, Rebecca shot back. He sought you out at the party. He made time for you. He gave you what he never gave me, attention, interest, commitment. Ms. Chen, Judge Winters said firmly, did you begin surveilling Mr. Ashford after that engagement party? Silence stretched. Then, I wanted to understand what made Alexandra special, what she had that I didn't. So yes, I watched them. For 18 months? Yes. And you purchased surveillance equipment? Hacking software? I'm a cybersecurity professional. I have access to those tools for my work. But you used them on Mr. Ashford and Ms. Morrison? Rebecca's mask was crumbling now, her voice rising. I needed to know. I needed to understand why I wasn't enough. James left me for someone younger, someone he was mentoring, someone who had no business being with him. And Marcus just disappeared after Edinburgh, like I meant nothing. But Alexandra, she pointed at Alex. Alexandra gets everything. The prestigious career, the respect, the man who actually stays. It's not fair. Miss Chen, Judge Winters said quietly, did you threaten to release compromising photographs of Mr. Ashford unless he ended his relationship with Ms. Morrison? I gave them a choice. That's not a threat. It's an option. Did you or did you not demand that Mr. Ashford publicly end his relationship with Ms. Morrison by Thursday at noon, or you would release private photographs to the media? Rebecca's hands clenched. Yes, but only because. That's extortion, Miss Chen. Judge Winter's voice was cold. And combined with your admitted pattern of surveillance, hacking, and harassment of both Mr. Hartley and now Ms. Morrison and Mr. Ashford, this court has no choice but to grant the injunction. She looked down at her notes, then back up. Effective immediately, Miss Chen, you are prohibited from contacting Ms. Morrison or Mr. Ashford by any means. Phone, email, text, social media, or in person. You are prohibited from coming within 200 meters of their residences or places of work. You are prohibited from publishing, distributing, or sharing any photographs, information, or material related to either of them. Violation of this order will result in immediate arrest and criminal charges. Rebecca stood frozen, her face pale. Furthermore, Judge Winters continued, I am referring this matter to the Crown Prosecution Service for investigation of potential criminal charges, including stalking, harassment, extortion, and violations of the Computer Misuse Act. Mr. Pemberton, I suggest you advise your client to retain a criminal defense solicitor. She banged her gavel. This hearing is concluded. Alex felt her knees weaken with relief. Marcus's hand found hers, squeezing tight. Across the courtroom, Rebecca remained standing, staring at them. Her expression was no longer angry or calculating, just empty, hollow. Then she turned and walked out, Pemberton hurrying after her. Elizabeth gathered her papers, satisfaction evident in her efficient movements. That went better than expected. Judge Winters clearly saw through the free expression argument. What happens now? Marcus asked. The injunction is in place. If Rebecca violates it, she'll be arrested. The CPS will review the evidence and decide whether to file criminal charges. Given the pattern with Hartley and the explicit extortion attempt, I'd say charges are likely. Alex's phone buzzed. She tensed automatically, but it was Sophie. Natasha and I are at Marcus's flat, champagne waiting. You did it, Alex. You actually did it. They emerged from the royal courts into weak sunlight, the morning crowds flowing past on the Strand. Alex felt lightness she hadn't experienced in days, weeks maybe. The weight of Rebecca's surveillance, her threats, her poisonous obsession, all of it lifted by a judge's order and the weight of law. Thank you, she said to Elizabeth, for everything. You built the case, Alexandra. I just presented it. Elizabeth smiled. Though I'll admit, watching Rebecca Chen unravel on the stand was rather satisfying. She thought she was smarter than everyone else. Turns out the law is smarter. After Elizabeth departed for another hearing, Alex and Marcus stood together on the pavement. The city moved around them, taxis honking, tourists photographing the Gothic architecture, barristers rushing to their next cases. It's over, Marcus said quietly. Really over. Alex leaned into him. The injunction is in place. But Rebecca, she's not going to just accept this. She doesn't have a choice. The judge's order is clear. I know, but you saw her face. That wasn't acceptance. That was... What? Alex couldn't quite name it. The expression in Rebecca's eyes as she'd walked out. Not defeat, not surrender. Something colder, more calculating. I don't know, she admitted. Maybe I'm just paranoid after everything. Marcus kissed her temple. You're allowed to be paranoid. But right now, you're also allowed to celebrate. We won, Alex. Against Emma, against Rebecca, against all of it, you won. They took a taxi to Marcus's flat, where Sophie and Natasha were waiting with champagne and an elaborate lunch spread from Ottolenghi. The four of them toasted to justice, to friendship, to survival. I still can't believe it was Rebecca, Natasha said, refilling glasses. My own cousin. I've known her my whole life. Sophie squeezed her fiancé's hand. You couldn't have known. She hid it well. Too well. But the signs were there. The way she asked about Marcus at family dinners, how she always wanted to know what you two were doing. Natasha shook her head. I thought she was just being friendly, making conversation. She was gathering intelligence, Alex said. That's what makes her dangerous. She's patient, methodical. Was dangerous, Marcus corrected. Past tense. The injunction stops her. Alex wanted to believe that, but something nagged at her. The memory of Rebecca's face in the courtroom, that hollow expression transforming into something else as she'd walked away. Her phone rang. Richard Morrison. Alex, congratulations. Elizabeth just briefed me on the hearing. Excellent work. Thank you, Richard. There's one more piece of good news. Patricia Ashworth called this morning. She's withdrawing the civil suit. Alex nearly dropped her champagne. What? Apparently she was impressed by how we handled the security breach, the investigation, Emma's arrest, and now the action against Rebecca. She said it demonstrated the firm's commitment to protecting client interests. She's satisfied. Relief flooded through Alex. That's incredible. It is, though I suspect Patricia also recognized that pursuing the suit would be expensive and uncertain, given Emma was criminally prosecuted. But regardless, it's over. The firm is safe. After hanging up, Alex shared the news with the others. More champagne, more toasts. The afternoon dissolved into celebration, the tension of the past weeks finally releasing. But as evening fell and Sophie and Natasha left for their own flat, Alex found herself standing at Marcus's window, looking out over the Thames. The city lights reflected on the dark water, beautiful and cold. What are you thinking? Marcus asked, coming up behind her. That we've been incredibly lucky. Emma arrested, Rebecca enjoined, the civil suit dropped, everything resolved. But, Alex turned to face him, it feels too neat, too complete. Rebecca spent 18 months planning this. She manipulated Emma, hacked our devices, surveilled us constantly, and now one court hearing stops her? The law stopped her. Judge's orders, potential criminal charges, the threat of arrest. That's powerful. For someone rational, yes. But Rebecca isn't rational. She's obsessed. Marcus pulled her close. Then we stay vigilant. We watch for violations. And if she does anything at all, she goes to jail. Alex rested her head on his chest, listening to his heartbeat. He was right, of course. The injunction was real, enforceable, backed by the full power of the legal system. But she couldn't shake the memory of Rebecca's eyes. Later that night, as they lay in bed, Alex's phone lit up with a notification. An email from an unknown address. She opened it, her heart sinking. No text, just a photograph. It showed Alex and Marcus leaving the Royal Courts of Justice that morning, taken from across the street. The angle suggested a telephoto lens, professional equipment, and in the bottom corner, a timestamp, 11:47 a.m., 2 hours after the injunction was granted. Alex showed Marcus, her hand trembling. She's already violating it. Then we report it. First thing tomorrow. We take this to Detective Okonkwo and Elizabeth. Rebecca will be arrested. But Alex stared at the photograph, at the casual way Rebecca had documented them, the brazenness of violating a court order within hours. This wasn't over. Rebecca was telling them, your injunction means nothing. Your victory is temporary. I'm still watching, and I'm not done.
Thanks for watching our stories. Don't forget to like and subscribe for more epic adventures. Thanks for watching our stories. Don't forget to like and subscribe for more epic adventures.